You know, we really do have our pastor is in many ways, a father figure to each of us here in a church, a spiritual father especially. And we're just so grateful to them for, the work that they put into these special services. And I know that even during the recent Mother's Day service, down to the detail of the bag that they put the gift in, it was with thoughtfulness and love and care, and the same with today. And so we just want to say thank you to Pastor Kofi. And so why don't we just greet there with thankfulness, give him a hand.
Thank you, Brother Joe and Pastor Joe. We are so happy that we all can come together. This shows that no matter where we are on the globe, there is no limit to how and what we can do for the Lord. Sometimes we said absence. They said what is absent? Say that again. Oh Lord, I got a lot of responses now. I have to pick and choose. Anyway, but we are very delighted. Especially men. Father's Day for men. It seems like there's a battle going on in the whole world about the place of men in the world, and more specifically, place of fathers. And gradually, as we are getting to understand more about how we can manipulate God's creation, the more we are on the verge to destroy everything that God has made for us to enjoy. And one of those things is fatherhood. One of those things is fatherhood. And so, on today's Father's Day, I just want to remind all of us, I'm going to speak directly to the men, but I'm going to include the women also on some of the things I'm going to say. Because as much as Father's Day is important, we need to ask the question, why do we need fathers in the world? Today, if you know anything about the statistics, close to, even in the United States alone, there are about 24 to 25 million children who have no fathers. Almost about 10% of the population of the United States have children that have no fathers. 24 million children in the United States alone has no fathers. And if you come to understand why fatherhood is important, and you have 24 million children who have no fathers, you will ask yourself, what is wrong with the world? But it doesn't strike our attention. Sometimes we don't pay attention to those things. Another statistic said children who are in homes where there are no fathers are almost 4 times more likely to grow up to be poor than those who are in a home where there is a father and a mother. Maybe what is going in your mind right now, you say, what about Shaquille O'Neal? What about LeBron James? They don't have fathers. But if you take Shaquille O'Neal and James, there are about maybe 1 million to 1 children that are lost. That means that out of 1 million, you find 1 Shaq or 1 James, LeBron, who is brought up just from a single mother home and became a star to sign a $17 million contract a year to play basketball. There are about 1 million children who don't have that opportunity. So what happened to them? How about those who can play football or basketball? So it's not what mothers have done, but it's what God has ordained to be done. If we take about the disproportionate number of people that are coming from single mother home, my wife is from a single parent home, but God has blessed her with education, with a job. But if you take my wife's case, there is about 1 million children that are born in a single family home that didn't make it. 65% of all the children that are locked up in America are from single family homes. 65%. So there is something important about fatherhood that we need to remind ourselves, even if we know it. Every time we come to an occasion like that, we need to take the opportunity to remind all the men that fatherhood is important. You don't need to have a children to be a father. And I'm going to prove that to you from the scripture. You don't need to pregnant a woman to be a father. But if you are born to be a man, you are also given the responsibility to be a father. To father somebody. I never have any kid myself. But I have a lot of children that I have fathered. Some are in college, so we just went home. One of my daughters graduated from college, bought a big home, and I helped her to buy a house. She's 23 years old now, and she owns a $240,000 home in Windsor, Connecticut. Because this girl was born from South Africa, had no parents, no mother, no father. The uncles and the aunts that were helping her threw her out. So she just happened to go to some Christian school. And they let her in the school. And America has some program that they go to Africa and different developing world every year to get smart kids and give them scholarship to come to the state. And she just happened to be at a school where this program from the United States came in South Africa and happened to be one of the girls that got into the program and came to America for college. And happened that when she came the first year, I was at the same college working. So when she told me her story, I taught her how to drive. I taught her everything about men. My wife will tell you, those big girls follow me like little puppies, But if you look back at them today, when we went home, she was supposed to go to work. But when I called and said, Talasha, we only can come to see you in the morning, she said, I got to call my boss and tell him my father is coming, so I'm not coming to work today. And that's what she did. So she didn't go to work. We went to see the house. Now she's got a young man. They're getting ready to get married. We may be going to South Africa. We don't know if we can want to go and come back before we leave to go back home. But those are some of the things that, for me, it amazes me. I saw 3 guys that I was preaching in New Jersey. They were all in the gang. They were all in the Blood gang. And those days, so the Spirit came upon me. If you walk through that door, I can tell you exactly where you came from and where you're going. So these guys came into the church, and I said, all of you sit here because you're all in the gang. And they were like, and their parents are in the church. So they were like, so I say, I want all of you, I think there were about 6 or 8 of them boys who just come sit right on my right hand side so I can see you. Don't sit in the congregation because every one of you is in the gang. So by the end of the service, 3 of them gave their life to the Lord. So I said to myself, it's not good for them to go back. I have a big house, I don't have anybody, so I told all 3 of them to leave and come and live with me. From New Jersey to live with me in Connecticut. And I put all of them to college. Amos is still there. He's the guy taking care of my house. He's the only one I live in that big house, cleaning it, cutting the grass and doing everything. But he's going to college, which his parents, they live there in New Jersey. I don't have a clue what was going on in his life. He lives in the house with them, but they have no idea what was going on in the street in his life. And so when most of you have done things that when you look back, you can say that if I didn't do this to this young person, it may probably will give them no place in this football field of life for them to do prosper. And that's what I want to talk about today. We know that a lot of children are getting destroyed because they don't have any role model. They don't have anybody to follow. They don't have anybody to follow. So my challenge to you is that every time you have an opportunity to invest in a child's life, take the responsibility to be a father to that person. If it is just one day that God has given you. If it's just 1 week that God has given you. If it's just 1 month that God has given you. If God gives you a whole year, spend it on that individual young person and make sure that your investment is something that will prepare that person to face the whole spectrum of life and the uncertainties that life will bring to them. Okay? Spend that time. And even if it's a day that you drive by, you go to the restaurant, you're doing something, and you see a young person that need help, even if it's just to go out and hug them. There are a lot of kids who are destitute for help, especially these young girls. the fathers cannot hug them, cannot show the love. So as soon as they go out of the house and some ugly Joe Blow come and hug them, they think they love them so much that they get them pregnant. You're laughing, but that's true. Because innate in every human being is the desire and the need to be loved. So if you can show love to your daughters at home, any first man that will show them any fake thing that looks like love, they fall for it.
Amen.
Any girl that gets pregnant out of age is because they don't know what love is from the house. And it's the result of the father who doesn't know how to be a father. Now some of you may be afraid that maybe if I get too close to my daughter, something will happen and people will say, no, if you are a Christian, if you are a Christian, you cannot see your own daughter naked and don't be stupid, then you are not born again yet. As far as I'm concerned, you are not born again yet. Unless you are so messed up with sin. So these are some of the things that the devil put in the way that make it so difficult, and some of us are so afraid that we're going to fall prey to the trap and the tricks of the devil, so we can help our young daughters to grow up and to know how to love, how to hug, how to talk, and how to even communicate. When was the last time those of you who have daughters, you spend an hour, 2, 3 hours just talking to your daughter about, not about their school, not about the food, just about them? Trying to get from their mind what they understand life to be. You need to know what your daughter or your son know life to be before you let. You see, animals, they don't give birth and let the children go out until they are sure that they can take care of themselves. You know? The eagle will never let the eaglet fly. He will put the eaglet on the back of his wings and go up and down, go up and down, unless she's sure that the baby can fly. She's never going to let it down. I was watching a movie the other day about somewhere in the world where there is this cave that there are birds in it, and the birds hatch their eggs, and the little ones want to fly. And there is a waterfall, so if they fly, they will fall in the water. And you can see the mother trying to say, don't go there. And using a bait to push her back into the cave. And then, you know, and she did that often until she was very sure that the baby bird can fly. And then she let her go. For us, we have this thing all messed up, especially the Eurocentric culture. When your baby is about 17 years old, you kick them out of the house. Because you and your wife want your proximity. You want your space. And the poor girl go out and have to share a room with somebody. Some of them are already on drugs, and before long, they are hooked on drugs. Some of them are already prostituting at the age 17, 16, because that's how they make their living. And you kick your daughter out of the house, and she go room with somebody, before you know they are in the nightclub. You and I have to be sure that the babies that God has given to us, they are prepared to fly before we let them go out in the wind to fly. They are prepared to pay their bills before we let them to go out and rent an apartment. They are prepared to feed themselves before we let them out to go, and so they don't start a life from a deficit mentality. If you let your child go out and don't have a job, don't know how to do anything, and yet they go and rent an apartment, and they are in an apartment, they don't have a job, they don't know how to pay for it, and they know at the end of the month that the landlord is going to come, what are they going to do? You are going to force them to do the undoable, to do the disgraceful things, to pay rent that they are not ready to pay. But if you look at your daughter, son, they went to school, they have a job, you know how much income they have, you talk them through how to pay rent, how to pay bills, how to take care of food, how to do so and so, before you let them out of the cage, they will continue like that. We are the ones that mess our children up, especially the European culture. And all of us now are trying to be Americans. Back home, if you are 50 years old and you don't have a job, you still live with your parents. No, I'm serious. Listen, when I came from college the first time, and I was in my room, my father made sure that my room was next to his room, because I didn't stay with my father, I was staying with my uncle. When my father heard me talking on the phone by myself, she thought I had a girl. So he just leave his room and run into my, who is that, who is that, who is that? I said, nobody. He said, start looking at that under the bed and everybody. That's how much he doesn't want me to even talk to a girl until I'm ready, finish school.
That's right.
So if you're under that kind of an eagle's eye, you would know what. But today, as soon as the kid is 17-year-old, we are waiting for them to be 18 so they can be emancipated, so they can leave the house, so we can have the extra room, so me and my wife can do this, so we can save money. So, really? If you look at the history of mankind, we human beings created in the image of God, we are the only, can I use the word stupid? We are the only one that acts so stupid. Animals do not act like that. No animal will let their baby off their sight until they know that they are secure, they can fly, they can hunt, they can kill, they can feed themselves. No beast will let their child out of their sight unless they are sure that they're going to survive. How many human beings do you know that throw their children out of the house? They don't have a job. Some of them never worked before. Don't even know how to balance their checkbook. Don't even know how to pay rent. Don't even know how to do groceries. Some of you don't even take your children to grocery shopping for them to know how to shop for groceries. And then you want them to go out there and do it by themselves. That's why the world is messed up. Fathers, I'm going to challenge you. If I say something that upsets you, take it from the gospel of Jesus Christ and go out and change it. It's your job. The Hebrew word Abba and the Greek word Pater means a pioneer, an initiator, somebody who set the stage, who built a foundation. That's what we call God our Father. Not only because He begot us through the Word or adopted us by the Spirit, because He set the stage. He is a pioneer. He designed the life. He gave us the blueprint of everything. If you are going to be a father, one thing you need to know is that the child's life depends on you. The foundation that you build for the child. You can't let your child go and gamble with life. That's what we have now. Most of us gamble, yeah, we win. But those of us who win are just a minute percentage of those who don't make it. If you're going to let your children out of the nest, make sure you give them all the mechanisms, all the resistance, all the knowledge, all the know-how. You have never smoked drugs before, but you know what drug can do to people. Tell your children. What illicit sex can do to young women who are growing up. What destructive life can come if you get pregnant and don't make it to college. Or tell them, talk to them about this thing. Set the foundation. Give them what you know and let them go and build their life on that foundation. Don't let your kid go and grow out by osmosis, some kind of scientific laboratory test, then they become famous. No. 1 out of a million. It's your responsibility. It's so important that even God, go to Matthew chapter 1. Even God, when God was sending His Son to this earth, God decided that there should be a human father for Jesus. Fatherhood is so important that even God, we read in Matthew chapter 1 that now, the birth, verse 18, the birth of Jesus Christ was as follows. After His mother Mary was what? Betrothed to Joseph. The Bible, I like the Bible because we said the Holy Spirit wrote the Bible, right? And the Holy Spirit is very careful and said, after she was betrothed to Joseph, before God came and met with her. God would have done it before Mary even got to know Joseph. That God waited until Mary is given to Joseph as a wife, and He was waiting for her to grow up to the time so they can get married. But God makes sure, because God wanted Jesus to have an earthly father. So God makes sure that He made that provision before Jesus was pregnant. Look at the economy, the science, the art of God's moving on earth. God never designed anything that He didn't prepare. I told you here last Sunday about the plan of God, the purpose of God, and the process that God to go through. God would never set up a plan for His purpose that the process will not be designed. God knew that Jesus needed an earthly father. So He waited until Mary was betrothed to Joseph before the angel came to Mary and announced the good news of the birth of Jesus. Jesus will never have an earthly father. Think about that. God, even God, when He was coming down on earth, needed an earthly father. Why do you think Jesus met Joseph? Why? You can see instant after instant. Let me just share a few with you. When Mary was pregnant, and Caesar Augustus set up a census, Mary probably was in about the 9th or 8th month of her pregnancy. If it wasn't for Joseph, Mary could not have traveled from Nazareth to Bethlehem for the census. But God knew that there needed to be a man, because Jesus was going to and designed to be born in a manger, not in a hotel, not in a hospital, and to be in a manger alone with the animals. Mary needed a man, and Jesus needed a father. Father who can cut the straw that the animals eat and make it soft so a baby can lay down. You know how the eagles make their nest, right? The eagle father and the eagle mother, they will go out, they will make the outside of the nest so ugly. But if you open the eagle's nest, there's always some cotton, soft space on the inside that they will put together for the baby to be there before they lay the egg. Now, I'm just telling you something that God created, and animals do it so well, but we can't. 90% of men who have children don't prepare for it. No. No. I mean, they don't prepare for it. And this day and age that we're in, people even don't get married before they have children. So ultimately, there's no preparation. Now you say, Pastor, but they will go to the hospital. Really? They still have to come back home. And that baby, from the day she came out of the womb, need the touch of a father. Need the touch of a father. Need the affection of a father. Need the warmth of a father. Need the broad, big arms of a father. And sometimes, I mean, those of you who are in the service, I'm so sorry, I'm not saying that you have to, but sometimes you are out and your wife has a baby, you are not there. That's the excuse, I understand. But I know people who are in America, in the same city, their wife or their girlfriend is having a baby, they are not there. They just got a text that you had a baby. And then they go out with your chest up. I just had a baby. We haven't. And even are dead. God intends for every child that comes into this world to have a father. And he demonstrated that by Jesus having an earthly father. Why is that important? Listen to this. I know we don't have time, but let me just share some things with you. When we read the Bible in John chapter 5, Jesus was preaching, right? And John chapter 5 verse 19. And I want to make some analogies for you. Jesus said in chapter 5 verse 19. Listen to this. We read it this morning. He said in 18, let's start from 18. Therefore the Jews sought all the more to kill him, because he not only broke the Sabbath, but he also said that God was his Father, making himself equal with God. Then Jesus answered and said to them, most assuredly, I say to you, the Son can do nothing of himself, but what he sees his Father do. For whatever his Father does, the Son also does in like manner. For the Father loved the Son and shows him all things that he himself does, and he will show him greater works than this. Jesus Christ said he does nothing unless he sees his Father doing it. How many of you are children, fathers, and state categorically that I want my children to see everything that I'm doing so they can do it? How many of you, if you take your private life, your professional life, your educated life, your selfish life, and you're sure that as a Christian, I want my children to see everything that I do so they can do it? Okay, we got one. Praise the Lord. Okay, two. I mean, you don't have to put your hand up. I'm just proposing that when we preach, we make a proposition. And you have to either defend that proposition or defeat that proposition. My proposition is that it is important for Jesus to make that statement. Because if Jesus is going to see what his Father in heaven does for him to do, how about his Father on earth? that must be equally so, because Jesus was fully God and fully human. So it must be so true that even his earthly life, he sees everything that Joseph was doing, so he must do it. That's why Jesus was not known in his early years as the Son of God. He was known as a carpenter because Joseph was a carpenter. Because it was important for the humanity of Jesus to learn of the traits and the behavior of a man with a skin on the bone called Joseph, so Jesus can be like Joseph. It wasn't enough just for him to do what the deity side of him do, but he also need to come and learn the humanity side. So God set all these two spectrums ready because Jesus was born. And I'm here to propose to you that if Jesus does only what he sees his Father in heaven does, then on earth he does only what Joseph does. That's why he learned how to go to the temple at the time of prayer. That's why he learned how to read the Bible in the book of Isaiah. That's how he learned how to go to the marriage feast in Canaan. That's why he learned how to speak to the people in the temple. Because Joseph was going to that temple every day, every time, 3 times a day at the time of prayer. And God needed a man to represent him, to teach Jesus those values. That's why he has to have an earthly father as equal as a heavenly father. Whatever he sees his heavenly father does, that's what he does. And I guarantee you, whatever he saw Joseph did, that's what he did also in the flesh. And you and I are no exceptions. If you bring children into this earth, God will hold you responsible for whatever they do until they are independent to live on their own. God, you have God's responsibility to teach these boys and these girls how to live life. Not what you say. Jesus didn't say in this context, I do what my Father said. He said, I do what I see. What you see, what you get. That means what you see is what you get. You know? Man, don't let your life be a secret life. Even while you eat, what you eat, when you eat, your children need to know. Why you choose to eat the kind of food you eat, your children need to know. Why you choose to wear the kind of clothes you wear, they need to know. Why you choose to marry their mother, they need to know. So when they do go out to make decisions, they will know what make you make, and if it works for you, they will know it works for them too. Amen. Don't take these things so lightly. We are in a world now when science is trying to rule God out of the world. When the devil is trying to use every means possible to rule God, to urge God out. I guarantee you, this world will not be what it's supposed to be until God take his place and his power. And in this world, he has ordained that men be fathers to the children and teach them what they do. They have to see what you do. There's a story I was reading when I was preparing for this, that a young boy, his father wanted him to go to Sunday school. So as he was in his room preparing for Sunday school, the father was sitting in the living room watching TV. So the father was telling him, hurry up so I can drop you, hurry up so we can go. So the boy said, you're not going? He said, no, I don't go to Sunday school. So the boy finished, and when the boy finished, he came to daddy. He said, Daddy, when you were a kid, did you go to Sunday school? And daddy said, yeah. And he said, yeah, if it didn't work for you, then it's not going to work for me, so I'm not going to go. Yeah, if you went to Sunday school when you were a kid, and by today is Sunday, and you are sitting down watching TV, that means it didn't work for you. So I'm not going to Sunday school because it's not going to work for me here. You said this is a story, but look at our human life. A lot of us are messed up, and we think just by speaking to our children, there will be something better than us. No, they can be only what you are and build on what you are to be better than you. They can't just glean something from osmosis, from some kind of metaphysical reality, some kind of a jargon, some kind of a humanistic manifesto, some kind of ideology, and adopt it to be a lifestyle that they will live. They can only do what they see you do. Potentially and powerfully. Because if they see you do it, there's something about the memory. The brain remembers about 45% of what it sees, but it only remembers 15% of what they hear, or less. That's why all of us are glued to TV. That's why TV is making money. That's why everybody needs a network. Because if they can capture you to sit down there like me, then my coffee is boiling over, my food is burning on the stove. If my wife is not there to watch it, by the time I smell it, the house will be on fire. Because I'm glued to TV. Let me tell you, if your children you cannot proudly say to your children, see what I do and do as I do, you are failing. You don't change life by talking. You change life. And let me just say to you, it's so important, fatherhood is so important to God that He made an earthly father for Jesus. And the first criteria is that Jesus will see what Joseph did and do the same. I beg you, if you're going to influence anybody's life as a Christian man, be a father for them. Don't just be a coach. Some of the coaches don't know how to play anything. You put some of the basketball coaches in the court, they can't even jump 1 foot. But they teach people to jump 3. And so, these people have to be what they are already before they come to the coach. That's why coaches don't go and pick any dummy. They pick the best. They call it, how they call it? They go from high school to recruit. There's a name for it. To draft, there's a name for it. What? To draft?
Oh, scouting.
Scouting. Come on, these boys are smart. They go out. What do you mean by scouting? They go out like secret agents, spying, like a cop. You know how a cat scout, they'll be walking like this. As soon as they see it, they tap on it and then they grab it. That's how these coaches do. Because they don't want anybody else to grab that good player. So they catch them and bring them. So coaching your parent, your children alone is not enough. Just coaching them is not enough. Let them see you. Even if the good coach will always allow the student to see him or her in action. Please, I'm going to repeat this for the rest of the day, fine. Let your children be proud, and you be proud for your children to see you do everything that they do so they can copy it. If you are a Christian and you are ashamed of anything that you do, that your children can't see it, I guarantee you, you fail God and you fail your children. And that's why the world is the way it is today. That's why the world is the way it is today. Another thing that Joseph had to do quickly. This is so important. When I read this, I've read this passage over and over many times. But when I was preparing for this sermon, and God opened my eyes to see that Joseph really, God is trying to tell us something. Because if Joseph is going to be an earthly father, you remember 2 things I've taught you already. God prepared Joseph before Mary was pregnant because he needed a father. Okay? And a father is not somebody that makes a woman pregnant. No. A father is somebody who scouts for a young person, a child, and grab them and bring them to their camp and replicate and duplicate and disciple them to become what you are so they can build on that foundation and take it to the next level. You see, if Jesus was alive today, in those days, when Joseph was doing carpenter, they have this, in the old school, there's something they call plane. Plane is like a little wood that has a sharp blade in it. So you put it in there, put a stick and knock it tight, and then you go So sometimes you take 3 days to just smoothen a piece of wood. Today what you do is, there's a saw. Then you put it down. If Jesus was alive today, he's not going to use this plane. But he's going to advance what Joseph has built in him and have the same knowledge and use better tools to do a better job, to do a faster job, and to do something that will be more efficient. If you don't give your children anything, there's nothing they will build on. You have to give them a foundation so they can use that foundation with the technology. You know why some of our children are messed up? Some of them never grew up in a home where there's a computer, right? And all of a sudden they have an iPhone. And they can tweet, they can Google, they can Google, they can Yahoo, they can Yami, they can do anything. They can watch movies, they can listen to music, and immediately they shut themselves away from you. Even when they are sitting in the house and you are talking to them, all their ears are plugged. And sometimes you have to come and say, hey!
That's right.
Can't you hear me?
Yes.
That's right.
And gradually, some people allow this technology to take their children away from them. That they get so much to understand the technology because they don't have any foundation before the technology came. They don't have any foundation before the technology came. So that new thing mesmerized. It drives them crazy. Now they're laughing at you. Yeah. Daddy, what are you talking about? Everybody, no, come on, Dad. You know how they say, come on, Dad. Get up and wake up and smell the coffee. Go on. Because there's no foundation. But when there is a foundation, they're going to build on it. They're going to understand that technology is not more important than relationship. They're going to understand that computers cannot replace fathers. They're going to understand that YouTube cannot replace my daddy. But if you don't build any foundation, this new invention will take your children away from you and you're going to gamble. They will lose if they need to lose. They will gain if they need to gain. You have no assurance that they're going to go the right way. Every day you are sitting in the house and your daughter or son is in college, your heart is beating boom, 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 boom. You never know whether they're going to start smoking pipe or opium or drugs or the next day before they come back. You don't know. But if you build a foundation, you sit down and say, I know what I put in this boy. I know what I put in this girl. I know what this girl knows. No Joe Blow from hell can turn them away from this foundation. They may make a mistake, but they will always fall back on that foundation. Those of you who cook, ladies, young women, you know if a woman knows how to cook, I mean if you don't know how to cook, it's not a bad thing against you, I'm just making my point. If a woman knows how to cook, any opportunity they have, they want to show it. So they're not going to marry, and when the guy comes home, what are we going to eat today? McDonald's. The next day come, maybe yesterday we got McDonald's, maybe today we go Popeye. The third day, well, you know this diet thing that we got, so why don't we go Subway? That's 3 times in a row. Okay? And then the 4th day, he said, well, honey, we've been eating this so, let's go Chinese. Let's go Chinese. That's the Friday, right? And then Saturday night, you go to Alaska mining. If the woman knows how to cook, you take her out 1 day, 2 days, and no, honey, you're not going out today. I got to steam you something. I got to shake your appetite up. What do you have a taste for? If a woman comes to a man and say, what do you have a taste for? And you don't even know what to say. You have to think about it. But you said, I need some, let's say steak. Nice, slim, cut steak with potato salad on the side here, and split peas on the side here. Put some Jamaican curry on the top here. And then you open the door and it smells like, wow! You can't wait to take your jacket out. You don't if you're like me, you just get in there and then you take it and then you toss it there. Then you go sit down all ready to eat. You can't wait to, honestly, man, you watch yourself. The day your wife cooks something good and you know it's in the house, you don't know where you put your jacket. You don't know, you just take it and throw it somewhere and off you go. But if you got to go to hamburgers today, Popeye tomorrow, this tomorrow, Chinese tomorrow, and then they open a Japanese down the corner there, very soon, and then the money is all gone. So the money is going. You don't know that until you come to the 10th of the month. Because 5 days to the 15th, you pay every 2 weeks, and 10 days away from that. Now, you look at it and say, honey, if we go out today, we can't pay for the dry cleaning. Well, we don't need to dry clean. We can, no. Okay. Then the woman said, well, you got to look nice on Sunday. You know that Pastor Kofi, you know everybody wears suit, all the men are wearing. Then you get an argument. See, little things like that. Just because the woman don't have a foundation, you don't have a foundation. So what to eat, where to eat, becomes a problem. Spill out in your dry cleaning, you stop going to church because you have nothing to wear. Start from simple foundation. And so Joseph had to build that foundation and quickly go into this for me. He also had to do this for God. In Matthew, we see that there was a time that Jesus need to, Jesus is the love of God. It's not PhD, it's not doctorate, it's these little things that God has given to us that are innate in our nature, that represent the person of God in us, need to be nurtured, need to be developed, need to come. So when we grow old, we shall not depart from them. It's not about any kind of accolades. It's not notoriety. It's not what plaque you got on the wall. What you do to represent God. Another thing that Joseph wanted to show Jesus is to show him that he is God in the skin of a man. So he doesn't get drawn up of this theology. I'm the Son of God. I don't even have to drink. Hey, water, come here. And then the water comes out of the faucet. And then he said, Joseph, I told you I don't need to go there. Okay? No, he needs to be obedient. He needs to learn life and love and obedience. That's what the Bible says, according to Philippians, Jesus learned obedience by being equal with God, but did not count that equality something to grapple or challenge or compete, but he humbled himself. Jesus learned humility from Joseph. He's God, but he has to be a son. Of everything, but he has to be a son. He has to follow the instructions that Joseph will give him. You see, if you don't create that life for your children, they don't know what obedience is. If you have to force Agnes to do something for you, how much more if you go marry a man, they have the same height, the same education, maybe she's a little bit educated, but church will say, well, the only reason why I married is I needed somebody to take up the garbage every morning. Seriously, this is a true story. In the United States, the reason why I married is I needed somebody that can take out the garbage. This is true. Why do you think a woman will have that mindset that the only reason they need a husband is for somebody to take the garbage? Or just to give me sex when I want it? That woman comes from a place where life has no meaning, life has no value, life has no designation, life is not even a paradigm, life has no value at all, life is just a game. How many of us Christians let our children go out and play this life out? Even Jesus needed to learn a human obedience through a father. Your job is to teach your children how to obey, not to force them. Teach them that if you say come, it means come. Sit down, it means sit down. Eat, let's eat. And those are things that we need to lay the foundation for our children, to know what love is. I made a reference in my study. When I was doing ministry back home, one of the things that I do in Massachusetts is work with pregnant teenagers. We have even a program with Bay State Hospital in Massachusetts for teen pregnancy. And I have my office in Springfield, Massachusetts, Monday through Thursday. Sometimes about 50 young girls, sometimes 14. Have you ever thought about seeing an 11, 12-year-old girl pregnant? And don't know who the father of the baby is? And don't have a mom or dad that is concerned about it? And they are hopping from program to program to program with uncertainty, with no plan. Why? Because she came out of a home where life has no meaning. Life is just a game. And she played it and she lost. If that home has a meaning, have a value, she will play according to the plan. You know, some of us, like me, because of the way we were brought up, you can't go out and stay there all night, whether there's curfew or not. Even at this age, I can't go out and stay till 1 o'clock. As soon as it gets somewhere, something in me just tune out. I'm ready to go home. My wife at 9 o'clock, she's ready to go home. No, I don't know. Because of the value that is in us, certain things will not change. Even if we diversify or we turn to the left, we will always come back to what we know it is good because it is already ingrained in us. And guess what? The innate God that lives in us need an outward expression and flow from us. So everything that comes out that connects with God. If you drink water and there's water in your body, where does the water go? It goes to join with that water in your body. If they put blood in your body, where does it go? It goes to connect with the blood that is already there. So the things that are outside that God has designed, there is an innate power in us that those things need to be connected. Fathers are conduits. We are channels. We are people who need to help our children to get a direction into this outside world and be able to pick the things that are valuable and let the things that are not valuable go. Give them the sense of distinction, the sense of quality, the sense of value. Nobody learns the sense of value in the university. Nobody learns the sense of what is valuable in academia. We learn it in the home. Nobody. I've been to 10 years of graduate school alone. I've been from school to school to school to school. I've attended about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 universities in America, so I know. No, some people that have PhDs also, as soon as they open their mouth, every word they speak. But when you go out and grow up in a house where every letter is a 4-letter word, every sentence have 10, half of it's a curse word, everything's about this. When you go out there, what are you going to do? You do the same thing. And that's why fathers are needed to lay the model of value for your children. Nobody learns value in the university. We learn value at home. This whole thing about homosexuals and lesbians and gays and all that, it starts from the home. You got this Republican guy who said I was against gay marriage, but now that my son is gay, I'm for it.
That's right.
And he's a Christian. God is so nice. It was me. As soon as he said that, I close your nose and your mouth. You're dead. Because you don't know what to live for. Please, fathers, value is one of the things that Joseph needed to teach Jesus on earth, not in heaven. It's your job to lay the foundation. It's your job to teach your children what is valuable. You know, these girls grow up, they don't know anything about sex. They don't know the value of sex because they see it on the movie, on the TV, and it's abused. So they think sex is just to be abused. So the girls are busy trying to make themselves look like some kind of a caricature. So they can attract like a mosquito catcher or something. So they can attract men. So they're putting on everything that will make men catch them. And then when they catch them and mess them up, they start crying. And then we are talking about sexual abuse and all that. It's training a sense of value. No program is going to change a woman or man's sexuality. Their own understanding of value and just see them as a sex object, something to catch and eat and play with and throw away. That's what they're going to do when there's nobody there. But if they have a sense of value for you and for you and for you and for me, they know what is valuable. They're not going to just take you because you look curly, you're like a Coca-Cola bottle, you are so tall and charming, you're no. They respect you because, now, let me ask you. All of us in this room, you have clothes in your closet, right? There are some clothes that you have so much value for that you don't wear it every day. You don't wear it every day. That's how valuable they are to you. Even every day, if you're like me, you are looking in, you take it and see whether they're still straight. So there's some whatever they call this thing that go on clothes. mold, whether it's molding. That's how you don't just go and grab something that is valuable and just put it on. Every time you wear it, you remember the next day you take it to dry cleaning before you shove it back in the closet. Even the shoes that you wear, there are some that we call sneakers. Then you just go in front of the house and toss it out. Yeah, I went to church. And man, our job is to teach our children. And I'm challenging you, not just, oh, Brother Nati, what are you doing? Not just your babies, but every young person that you come in contact with as a Christian man, it's your job to take them under your wings and see if they are able to fly before you let them fly. See if they are able to go out and get a job. Some of our kids don't even know how to fill a resume paper, and then we send them out to go live by themselves. Thank you, Chris. So please, we live in a world where we men have not been given the opportunity to become what God wants us to be. And my proposal to you is, if Jesus, who is God, need an earthly father, and every child that comes onto this earth also need a father. Try to be one. Try to be a father not only to your children that you beget, but to every child that need to know value, every child that need to see something transparent that will affect their life, every child that need to know love and understand love. Before every child go out to be independent, they need some foundation. Fathers, we are the foundation builders. We are the pioneers. We are not just facilitators. We are not just coaches. Okay? We are pioneers. We are foundation builders. And find somebody from this day, every man in this room, if all your children are grown, go out and find some 18-year-old soldier and be a father. Make sure they understand. Even the army. Brother Nate and I talk. There are a lot of these young people who come after basic training. They don't know anything. Huh? And if they have a girlfriend back at home and they are here and the girl calls and says, I'm leaving you, they kill themselves. You think a person will kill himself because the girlfriend is leaving them, but because they have no value. They don't understand life. They don't come from a family where they are taught what life is about. Life is not about sex alone. Jesus said, man shall not live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. People are killing themselves because of sex, because of bread, because of money. We Christians need to step to the plate and teach these young people life is not about bread alone. Give them value, so that when they come to the crossroad, they will know that if a woman or a man leaves you, that's not the end of your life. If a husband or wife leaves you, that's not the end of your life. Even if you lose your job, that's not the end of your life. There's more to it. So they can stand up and remember the things that you teach them, and then they will come out victorious. Be a father to somebody. Just like Jesus, God appointed Joseph to be a father to Jesus. Look for someone in the church, outside of the church, and father them.